Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm going to pause this. I am in the chat. You never know what could happen. Tyler's like, yeah, for the next 3 minutes until she breaks the computer, and then I will be in the chat. That's probably true. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate's on the table. There was a meltdown, my friends. A really, really fun meltdown that happened on Twitter over the weekend. I had put a tweet out about Andrew Tate some time ago, actually, on September 17th. And suddenly, there was a delay, right? All the feminists left must have been asleep. Feminists were just, I don't know, maybe they go into hibernation every now and then. They were in hibernation. And suddenly, I guess, one of them, verified, tweeted something out, and it just opened the floodgates of crazy. The crazy just rolled on out. And it was just like one, and initially I was like, I'm not going to bother with this, waste my whole day. But it was just too much fun. You know how it is. Sometimes it's just too much fun. You can't ignore the crazy. Plus, it was an opportunity because as I saw the tweets rolling in, and we're going to talk about all of them, we're going to show them all. Oh yeah, it's going to get juicy. At first I said, you know what, I'm not going to bother. And then I said, this is an opportunity to explain the feminist left, to explain the modern left, and to really just explain who they are, what they value, and how they operate via their own words. Fascinating, fascinating study. And we're going to break it all down today. We're also going to talk about why men cheat. And we are going to hear the perspective of an escort who has gone viral with her content, talking about why men pay her for sex. It's fascinating. So that is today's show. We're going to begin with Twitter. Tyler has about 6,500 links to share today, so be patient with him. But this was my original tweet, okay? And I posted this on Twitter and Instagram, and I meant it. And here's what I said. I said, hate on Andrew Tate all you want, but if shit hit the fan and your neighborhood turned into a crime zone, he's exactly the kind of guy you'd want around. I know it, you know it, and the guy in pink nail polish wearing a feminist rock t-shirt knows it. You know the type. So I said that. Again, on September 17th, and, people responded, people replied, but there was no real outrage. Like, no one's hair was on fire, no one's panties were in a bunch from the blue check verified modern left community. So you fast forward to September 24th, my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. I'm just hanging out, having a normal day, and I start to see him roll in, and it's beautiful. It's real. I could have cried a tear of joy just watching the emotional breakdown, the meltdown, as we'll call it. Okay. So, and I'm gonna show you who, like, their bios, because this is really important. And I think in order to understand who can't stand Tate, why they can't stand Tate, and the assumptions they're willing to throw out there about why, you got to understand where they're coming from. And there's a commonality. There's a thread that, how do we say, weaves through. Okay. So, first person, Caitlin Burns, writes back to that tweet and says, The Walking Dead is fake. What that even means is really beyond me. The Walking Dead is fake. So I reply and I say, your point is what exactly? Crime is exploding in many cities around the country. I witnessed 3 crimes in less than 12 hours in now destroyed shithole, New York City. That's right. My comment stands. So it's interesting. This one was interesting to me because she thought it was funny that I would refer to something as a crime zone. It's amazing to me that folks on the left just can't understand the reality of what's happened in a lot of these cities around the country. We talk about it all the time. I was simply saying, hey, you're in an area like New York City now blowing up with crime. Shit really does hit the fan. You never know. It could. You could wind up on the wrong corner that suddenly used to be a great neighborhood and now isn't. All I'm saying is stuff gets unsafe. You want a guy like him. She had to say, well, that's just ridiculous that you're just making this stuff doesn't really happen. Crime zones, that's for the movies. Yeah, or it's for cities everywhere. As you may know, if you actually took the time to look at the registries of what's happening when it comes to murder, when it comes to rape, when it comes to robberies, theft, all that stuff, take a look at it, it becomes a reality. So that was interesting to me. I went to Caitlin's bio, and I was not surprised to find that Caitlin is a freelance journalist, columnist at MSNBC, is a writer at Medium. She's formerly at Vox. She's a feminist. She's a soccer lady, and she uses the pronouns she, her. You are going to find a trend among these people that Pronouns are in almost every bio. Pronouns are in almost every bio that can't stand Andrew Tate. Just saying, it's just a reality. All the verified bios, with the exception of a couple that I found, had the pronouns in them. Guys, women, all of them. So that was the first one that came through. And now, what did I mean by the tweet? Just to let you know, what I meant by the tweet is that Andrew Tate, I didn't say Andrew Tate walked on water. I didn't say Andrew Tate will never be found guilty of anything. He is, the second coming of Christ. I didn't say any of that. I said, this is a guy who's a world champion kickboxer. We know that. Guy knows how to fight. Anyone with a brain knows that. He's a guy who's unapologetically masculine. He's a guy who's come out and said that he will fight to protect the woman that's standing beside him, even if 10 guys approach him. What I'm saying is that's a beneficial type of person to have around if shit hits the fan. It's amazing that was controversial. Fascinating. Okay. Then Kate Willett comes in. Kate, welcome. She says, if Andrew Tate was in my neighborhood and it turned into a crime zone, I would have an extremely promising lead on the suspect. So I said, tell me what crime Andrew Tate has been convicted of. I'll wait. Do you hear that? It's just silence. The silence. So this became a fascinating trend to me. And it reminded me a lot of the Kavanaugh hearings that I always write. Now, I'm not comparing Tate to Kavanaugh. I'm not. What I'm just saying is there is a segment, and it's a very large segment of the liberal population that is very comfortable accusing people of things with no proof. So all I'm saying is, has the guy been convicted of a crime? No, he hasn't. So why don't we wait? And I've told you, if that ever came to surface or if charges came to surface, I'm going to report on them here and we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about what that means. But this guy just has an opinion. They've decided, though, that if it was a crime zone, he would be guilty. Fascinating. So I go and I look up Kate, and she has a show. I didn't know that. And the show page says this: the leftist feminist comedy podcast for the rest of us. Two nice ladies doing socialism. New episodes every Wednesday. You may be noticing a trend. Tyler, you may be piecing the puzzles, the pieces of the puzzle. They coming together yet?
That they're all terribly distraught white women. Hang on, but I like how we just glossed over that the other chick runs a podcast called Cancel Me Daddy.
Listen, this is just, you put it out there. You put it out there. You got to make, sorry, this stuff is funny. This stuff is funny. And it's actually quite serious. We're going to get to this, why this is. We can laugh a little bit and have our fun, but this is actually quite serious that these people are comfortable labeling someone a criminal, a sex trafficker, a rapist, with no evidence of that. Let's keep going. So Eric Michael Garcia gets involved, and he says this: I used to go to heavy metal shows. Some of those Bamas, I don't know what that means. Is that people from Alabama? Is he talking about? I'm not sure. With nail polish and high heel boots could whip Andrew Tate's ass. Honey. Just. So I write above it. Tell me you know nothing about Tate without telling me you know nothing about Tate. Listen. This is what I'm saying. Like, they know they're supposed to hate Tate, right? They're like, I hate what he says about women. I hate that he makes me uncomfortable. I hate that he wants me to be less lazy. I gotta hate this guy. What do I say? There's panic. There's like, what do we? He's a professional. Oh, he would get his ass kicked. But he would get his ass kicked by a guy wearing high heel boots. The dumb, like, you don't have to make yourself look dumb, right? No, he wouldn't, honey. He wouldn't, because regardless of how you feel about Tate, and I don't give a shit. You love Tate, you hate Tate, you don't like what he's saying. I don't care, right? But how dumb is it to say that guy, the world champion kickboxer, is going to be really worried about a guy at a concert? Okay, sure. Dumb point to make. So Eric, who's Eric? I was like, I don't know. Senor DC scribe at Independent, MSNBC contribute. You don't say. That's surprising. Author, we're not broken. And look, he, him. Oh, that's good to know. Because had I addressed Eric and used the wrong pronoun, that could have just really started a shitstorm. I don't know what would have went down there. It continues. And I start to really, I enjoy this stuff a bit. I have to say, Andrew Breitbart and I were friends, and he used to just be like, give it your best shot. He had that attitude. And I do too. I love it. It's like, come at me. Because you know what? This stuff's not grounded in fact or reality. And I do my research before I talk about somebody. I'm not one of those people that comes out and just say, I do my research, right? In the beginning, and by the way, in the beginning, when I watched those videos and I commented and I didn't see the long form, I'm going to be the first one that's going to tell you, I should have watched that long form content. I own up. People know that about me. So here we go. It continues. Jen Morrison. She had a very emotional reaction. She said, ma'am, this is embarrassing. So I said, I'm not embarrassed one bit. Try harder next time. I wasn't embarrassed to say what I had said. It's true. You all know it's true. I don't care if you hate Andrew Tate. Let me ask you a question. Shit goes down in your neighborhood. You can call, and you have two options, right? There's crime happening all over. You got to get to the corner. There's shit that's gone down. You act like that can't happen. Did you ever remember the videos of cities on fire, Portland and everything? Remember on CNN when the guy was like, it's peaceful here, and the whole city was up in flames behind him? I mean, the dumb and just it's just like, let me ask you, and you have two options. You can call Andrew Tate, world champion kickboxer, or you can call Jedediah. You gonna call me? I show up. Hi, 5'4.5", fit, but like, you have your choice. Who you gonna call? Come on, don't be dishonest with yourself. You know you're gonna call a guy like that. Who do you have in the military, people? Who do you have in the military? A bunch of pussies? No, that's right. I said the word. Who do you have in the military? You want guys. Who do you want to show up when there's a fire? You want a big ass man to show up. He's gonna carry you up all those flights of stairs. You know it. Come on. You don't have to be, it's like saying, like, if we were walking down a dark alley and it's, we're in a small group at Valuetainment, do people feel safer walking with me or Patrick Bet-David? Patrick is like, if you put two of me, like you stood me up and then you put another one of me on top of me, maybe I'd be Patrick's height. So you just got to be realistic, people. These people are just living in some type of weird woke bubble where they can't even admit fact anymore because they're trembling to hate him. They're trembling to hate him. All right, Jen Morrison. So I see who she is. Jen went on and on, by the way. This went on for a while. I look and I see freelance writer, New York Times, The Atlantic, Washington Post, Self Magazine, she, her. The pronouns.
Freelance, you know what that means? That means she doesn't have a job.
Is that what that means?
It means nobody likes her enough to hire her.
Tyler woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, so you don't want it. Let me tell you, his commentary is going to be good. This kind of Tyler, this is what we signed up for.
What does that mean, though? Freelance. It means nobody here likes her enough to keep her full time. Your personality sucks enough for the times that they won't keep you full time.
There you go. Well, it's all woke publications. So the Parents Magazine, I don't know. I don't read that. Huffington Post, we know what that is. Okay, so she, her. So she had emotional reaction, whatever. So I wrote... She writes me again, if you're not embarrassed to defend a man currently facing sex trafficking and rape charges, that's on you. Hard to comprehend, particularly from a mother. Where are the charges? Where are the charges? Where are the rape charges? I ask. I couldn't find charges. I certainly know he had. First of all, I didn't have the heart to tell her that charges is not the same as finding something, right? You can charge somebody, like you can accuse somebody. It's not the same as being found guilty. So there's a distinction that needs to be made there with anybody. This isn't just about Tate, right? Because you had charges. Again, I'm going to bring it up against Brett Kavanaugh. You had somebody coming up say, oh, he's sexually hurt. She didn't have any evidence. In fact, the people that she brought forward to say they're going to corroborate my story, they were like, oh, honey, actually, that's not what happened. So has this guy been found guilty? So I write, he has not been charged or convicted of sex trafficking or rape. If that changes, I'll have plenty to say about it. I don't agree with Tate or anyone else on everything, but I've defended his right to voice his own opinion. I'm not seeing charges of rape. I don't see it. I do not see it. I looked, I researched, I tried to find it. In fact, let me say this about Tate. I don't know what's going to come up on this guy. I don't know him personally. I'm just here to tell you what I see and what I like about what he says, what I don't like. I don't know. But if this guy is the target of everybody. All the people, the media, they can't stand it. Like, or if this guy had charges out, somebody had come forward and said he raped me, whether that was true or not, that would be front headline everywhere. I'm not seeing it. So I don't know, man. I don't know. So I wrote, here's the next exchange. She writes, yes, free speech, but that's not what you tweet. That's not what your tweet was about. You implied he would be the hero we all need instead of men you consider to be lesser than. Which is a pity. I never said he was a hero, so I wrote, never implied anyone is a hero. I have one hero, and it's God. That's the truth. What I said is that if dangerous shit hit the fan, physically strong, unapologetically masculine men who know how to fight and have zero interest in woke slogans are exactly who we'd call, and that remains my opinion. Is it not true? I invite you in the chat. By the way, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button, if you like seeing me take on this woke psychosis. because we can do more of this. Is it not true? Is it not true that you, if shit hit the fan, you wouldn't want somebody like him who's just got no time for bullshit? It's not going to be about, should we have somebody outside that's like, well, I don't know if I want to go in because I'm feeling a certain type of way today. And no, you don't. You don't. You don't want somebody you want somebody who's just going to react, right? Unapologetically masculine means that they're not afraid of the things that make them a strong ass man. That's what you want in situations that are dangerous. Okay. Interestingly enough, I extended to Jen an invitation to come on the show. She had been going back and forth with me for a while. I said, you have an open invite to come on my show to discuss if you're interested. I'm happy to have you on. I stand by my Twitter comment, but happy to discuss at length in a longer format. Suddenly there was silence. How shocking. How surprising. And that invitation holds. If you're a feminist out there, by the way, put it in the chat, please. If you're a feminist and you don't like what I'm saying, you want to come on and have this debate with me, let's do it. Let's do it, because I am debating this from a position of fact and what we know and information we have, and the fact that it's very obvious to me, very obvious that there was a campaign to shut down a guy that a lot of people felt his message was destructive. And I did all the research. I looked at it. So I laid it out here, because you know why people say, why do you do this on Twitter, Jed? I do it because you got to stop this nonsense. You got to gut out the cancer of actual misinformation before you get labeled misinformation, even though you're telling the truth and suddenly you're banned. You got to cut the cancer out. And the cancer is this willingness of people who are very fragile to label people, you're a bigot, you're a misogynist, rapist, racist, rapist. They don't know what word to say with no justification, because essentially what it is they're uncomfortable with his commentary. They don't like it. And they're shaken because they don't know what to do about it. Okay. That just doesn't work for me. And you ask, why do I bring up Kavanaugh? And that's why. Because that was the moment where everything changed for me, where I realized there was a large segment of the population, not small, and they were all on the left, and a lot of them identified as Me Too movement, modern feminists, who were willing to wreck that guy's future, character, job, family, all of it, with no proof, with no evidence. They criminalized him on day one. And what I realized is this is how they approach issues. This is how they approach things and people they don't like. And it may be Kavanaugh today, and it may be Andrew Tate tomorrow, and it may be you next week. So this paradigm doesn't work for me. And it's not about allegiance to Kavanaugh or allegiance to Tate. It's not about that for me. It's about do your research. And if you have a problem with what this guy's saying, you know what? Take your phone. Everybody's got a cell phone these days. Take your phone, record some content, and put it up. Put it up. Don't go crying and making, he's a this, he's a that, you're this, you're that. I mean, it's what, is everyone 8? Apparently so. All right, then I get a message from Ronnie. I'm going to mess this up. Ronnie, Tim K. Baker. And it says, I know people with guns. Unlike you, I have no need for or desire to cozy up to sexual predators. Have fun with that. Andrew Tate wouldn't save anyone from a crime zone. Andrew Tate is a crime zone. So again, based on what? Based on what factual information? Where is the crime? Show me the crime. Show it to me. So I say I have zero interest in labeling people predators or criminals with zero evidence. If such evidence arises, I will surely be talking about it. And that is sincere. But do you see this reflex? This is an important point. Listen carefully. Because it happened with COVID, it happens. There is a segment of the population that will swallow media talking points, right? They just swallow it and they regurgitate it with zero independent thought, zero independent research. And they do that because they want to take out thought and conversation that they don't like and people that they don't like. So you saw with COVID, with no independent research, it's the same people that were shouting you down if you were bringing up stats about masks or bringing up stats about the side effects of the vaccine that you were seeing in your own community or bringing up any stats that they didn't like. You suddenly became the target. They chewed up and swallowed Fauci's whatever and regurgitated it. And now they will chew up and swallow a mainstream media story about Tate because they don't like the message that he's saying. They don't like his message. Honey, I don't give a shit if you don't like his message. You don't get to do this. You don't get to behave this way, or I'm going to challenge you. Okay. So I look up Ronnie. Destroyed for comfort, sad but funny. There's a bio of Ronnie. And Ronnie, I was looking for the pronouns, to be perfectly honest. That's not what I found. Ronnie is apparently has some site up where she talks about being a trans woman. And there's a whole thing. She says a 30-something-year-old trans woman that's been on HRT since mid-2012. She's open about this. She says, she takes pills twice a day. This is what it says. What this means is that twice a day for the past few years, I take dime-sized white pills that taste like minty fart poison death. This pill makes me less angry, makes me pee a lot, thins out my body hair, decreases my muscle mass and bone density, and totally nuked my acne. It's also making my junk shrivel up and die, whatever. This is in her words. Now, I'm not saying this to criticize her as a person. She's entitled to, she's an adult. I fully respect her right to live the life she wants. What I'm just doing is to say there's a pattern that I noticed of people and lifestyle choices that were rallying against my comment about Andrew Tate. Had their pronouns in their bios, were a member of the trans community. There's a certain community of people that he has aggravated at their core. So that just solidified, okay, this is another person that I would say fits the pattern that I'm seeing. No disrespect intended in that sense. Your life is your life. You do with it what you want. Okay. Then I see from Zach Budrick, if my neighborhood was a crime zone, I would see sex trafficker as part of the problem. Again, do you see the comfort with which these people will say, you're a sex trafficker? You're a sex trafficker. So I say that's great, except he hasn't been convicted of sex trafficking or any crime. So maybe let's wait till someone is convicted of a crime before calling them a criminal. This seems like very basic logic to me. And what I'm inviting these people to do, what are you laughing at, Tyler? I'm afraid to ask.
The comment. So you'd let Casey Anthony babysit for you, or you trust O.J. Simpson dating someone you cared about? Yeah, because those are it's just apples to apples comparisons. Again. Never mind.
You just can't make this stuff up. This is who these people are. And what I always say is when people show you who they are, believe them. Believe them. And I don't care if you like Andrew Tate. What I was inviting these people to do, they're smart. These are all verified, by the way. Every single one of these people that I'm mentioning now, with the exception of one I'm going to do at the end, is verified. They have a blue check mark. They're considered prestigious on Twitter in some way. Fascinating. I invite them to, you don't like Tate? Tell people why. Create content that, dissects what he's saying. Create an alternate view of what you think is beneficial for society. But they can't do it. They can't do it. Because what's happening here is they're feeling personally threatened by the fact that he makes them feel small with his commentary, and they're lashing out by vomiting out words, accusatory words, with no basis. So again, I'm saying, okay, he gets convicted of something, we're going to talk about it. It's not like we're BFF somewhere in a, Andrew Tate, BFF charm from, the 90s. I'm here to tell you what's happening. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So I look at Zach's bio, environment, energy reporter at The Hill, co-host of Stim for Stim, graduate novelist. Okay. And I look at the show, I'm like, okay, what is Stim for Stim? This is the show description. We're a relationship podcast for by people on the autism spectrum, co-hosted by this guy, he, him, married, and somebody else, they, them, single, and polyamorous. Fascinating. The pattern continues. Now, you don't have to like that I'm pointing it out, but I am going to point it out. I'm just pointing out that it was almost everybody who was verified was coming at me. It was like, oh wow, are they all in some type of club or I don't know, all BFFs? I don't know. Okay, then I get one. The guy he deleted it. Of course, I had screenshot it already though. He had deleted it because he realized, I made a boo-boo. His name was Christo Ivalis, and he said, bro is literally accused of kidnapping a woman. He would be the crime zone. Accused of kidnapping a woman. So I write back, bro has literally been found guilty of nothing. It's cool to like or dislike him, to agree or disagree with him, but I'm not in the business of calling people criminals for the hell of it. Can you imagine, though, just think about this for a second. Can you imagine calling somebody a crime zone or a criminal because they've been accused of something? So I every time I open my mouth, because I'm polarizing as all hell and I own that, half the country gets mad at me. Do you know how many people accuse me? You're a racist. You're a this. I get it all the time. Okay. I've had positive stalkers. I've had negative stalkers. I've needed security for event. It happens, right? You open your mouth, you bear that risk and the response. I'm not complaining about it. I'm very grateful for the platform that I have. But can you imagine if every time somebody accused me of something, that became reality? That's not how it works, honey. How it works is someone can accuse you of something, and then there has to be evidence. And then you have to be convicted of something and found guilty to actually be labeled that thing in a just society. That's how it works. Then the serfs weigh in. I didn't know who they were. Apparently they have a YouTube channel where they just rip on conservatives. It's funny to see them trying to be funny, but the content not so funny. Anyway, they say, probably wouldn't want the human trafficking. Women are partly to blame for their own rape sky. Walking around to find being honest. So I said, do better research, maybe watch some long form content, because we know that's not what he said. I don't always agree with him, but I did the research. Also, he hasn't been convicted of human trafficking. And I kept saying this again and again and again. And I did the same thing with Kavanaugh, by the way. If you go back and you look at my tweets, again, this is not Tate is like Kavanaugh. Not at all. What I'm saying is, what was similar for me is the reaction of the same types of people and the quick labeling and all that. But I did the same thing. I went on, I repeated it over and over again, because I want people who don't know to see what they're doing. Because this path to destroy people from second one happens all the time. And it's, like I said, it's Tate today, it could be somebody else tomorrow. So I also want to play, Tyler, do we have that clip, did I put it in here, of what Tate actually said? From PBD, do we have that? Yeah, so this is what, I'm going to play this in full. This is what he actually said about rape and women and responsibility and all that. Can we listen to that, please?
I'd like to take this time and explain what I was saying in long format video about a girl. I was having an argument with a feminist, and she was saying that we need to teach men not to rape. And I said, my dear, I love how idealistic you are, but I am realistic. Men are already taught not to rape. She's like, no, we need to go and change language at school and rewrite history and do all the shit they're trying to do to make men weak, because they think that weak men don't rape, which is another argument I want to come back to, because weak men are the most dangerous men on the planet. Let's talk about that later. But I said, no, people already understand that rape is wrong. Unfortunately, human nature, some people don't care about doing wrong things. We should teach people not to steal, but they still steal. Would you agree that everyone says don't steal? The Bible says don't steal. The Quran says don't steal. Schools say don't steal. Everyone says don't steal. People still steal. So if I were to take $1 million in cash and walk down the street at night in the worst part of town holding it, to a degree, I would have some responsibility. When I got robbed, the police would come and say, why did you do that? People would say, Andrew, why did you do that? You have to protect yourself from things. You can't just rely on the ideological hope that other people in the world are going to be perfect and infallible, or that the law is going to prevent it. You have to say, no, I can't walk through the ghetto at 2 a.m. with $1 million in cash. I take personal responsibility. She agreed. I said, then by extension, would you agree that the smartest thing a woman can do to prevent rape is not to sit here on a podcast and try and change the way men think and talk about your bullshit, but to take some degree of personal responsibility and not put yourself in dangerous situations? I'm not saying that's going to prevent all rape. I'm not saying that rape is okay. Rapists should be executed. I'm not saying that every single woman who was ever assaulted could have prevented it. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying the smartest thing a woman can do is say, this is dangerous. Going home with this guy I just met is dangerous. Walking through this area by myself is dangerous. Let me call a taxi. Let me call my brother. Let me go with my husband. Isn't that a more intelligent way to teach women to prevent themselves from being raped, as opposed to telling them you can do whatever you want, walk around in the middle of the night naked, it's no problem, men shouldn't rape, men are the problem? I said, what you're trying to do is illogical. What I'm trying to say will actually prevent rape. So what you're saying, when you're telling girls do whatever you want, men are the problem, you're convincing women to put themselves in situations where bad things might happen to them. Whereas I'm saying, listen, women and men, look after yourselves. I'm a full-grown man, 4-time kickboxing world champion. There's places I don't go alone. Like I came here with security. That's called being an intelligent adult. So this is what I was trying to say. I was trying to say women need to protect themselves and bear some responsibility to make sure they don't put themselves in situations where bad things can happen to them easily.
Okay, so there you have it. So this isn't an first of all, he's right. This isn't an anti-woman message. This is a pro-personal responsibility message, and the left can't. That just jolts their brain. That makes them uncomfortable. And what he's saying here is right. He outright says, "I'm not condoning rape." He says rapists should be executed. He's saying that if you, and I've said this to women all the time, you have to take some responsibility for the fact that you can't control outside situations. You can't control if a guy is walking down the street who seeks to do harm to you. You can't control any of that. All you can control is what you put out there. So you have to, not that you're going to be responsible for somebody else's bad behavior toward you, but you have to make smart decisions. I love this because it's like, again, these liberals infantilize women. They infantilize them. It's like, don't worry, honey, do whatever you want. Walk down the street naked. If somebody comes at you, like it's nonsense. No, the message to women should be just be aware of what's really going on, right? There are dangers out there. There are dangers. There are dangerous people. So just know that, and don't walk down the street half naked down a dark alley with a bunch of weirdos around. Don't walk down the street there at all. Don't walk down the street there at all. But especially don't do it half naked, right? There has to be some just common sense. This isn't about, and he even says it's about women and men and himself. So it's a risk assessment conversation. It's not a conversation that's anti-women. He's talking about risk assessment, personal responsibility, being aware of your surroundings and making smart choices. Okay, that's all. Does that sound like a guy that's saying women are partly to blame for their own rape? That just doesn't sound like that to me. So I looked at the SERFs page. It says 2 plebes give you their spin on the pale blue dot. Both he, him. Oh, well, that, you know something, Tyler, I wouldn't have felt complete had I not known about the genders.
Do you think they hired a professional artist for that image?
Let's bring it back up.
Was it 4chan? Let me zoom in here.
What's going on there? What is even going on?
Alt-right, racism, rebranded, 4chan. Obviously, it's the human centipede, right? So original. 4chan to Andy No, who had to leave the country because he was getting death threats from Antifa, to Tim Pool, who's not even on the right, to Jimmy Dore. Right. Yeah. And out it comes.
Oftentimes what I find interesting about these people, too, is they really don't know what they're talking about. They pool a whole bunch of people together, and you're like, why do you assume that? Like Joe Rogan, they turned into some like right wing. He's not a right wing guy. He was a Bernie Sanders guy. Is everybody just looking for some excuse to make a, like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about ever? All right, so it continued, by the way. Then I see my friend John DeBoer getting involved. John and I used to be on TV together. We did Red Eye a bunch of times. Liberal guy, nice guy. I like John as a person, but this was too much. So John says, we should stop committing crimes or that guy is going to take off his shirt and flex in front of a mirror. So I said, hi, John. World champion kickboxers don't just flex in front of mirrors, but you do you. So John continued. Tweet 2. Did you get tweet 2 of that?
No.
Okay. So tweet 2 essentially says, has a picture. I guess I didn't put this one in there because John, this was like hard to follow after a while, but John tweets out a picture of Tate in front of a mirror doing a flex. As if that was supposed to make the point. First of all, you look at him in the picture. He looks like a badass dude. You're like, John, you're... Okay. Your point is what, John? First of all, again, I didn't say that world champion kickboxers never flex in front of a mirror. I say they don't just flex in front of a mirror. And secondly, thank you for making my point that, yes, in fact, I would call a guy just like that, who was built like that and who knew how to fight, to come in a time of distress. No, better. You know what? Never mind. In fact, let's just kill all the standards for the military, because when I have a fiasco, I want them to come. When you have a fiasco, remember when there were all those Occupy Wall Street, and then there were the riots that happened and Black Lives Matter? Do you remember in the cities where they had to bring in the military? Did they come unarmed? Well, no. Did you see little tiny women like me all over the place? Just like, hey, what's up, everyone? Calm down. Don't get excited. No, you didn't. You saw big ass men come in and be like, you know why? Because if shit hit the fan, who do you want there? I mean, this is just ridiculous that in 2022, you can't look at a guy like that and just say, yes, honey, that is the kind of guy I'm going to call if shit hits the fan. End of story. I don't give a shit. End of story. I'm not going to be worried about what kind of video he made and what he said about women versus men and dating and relationships if shit hits the fan. No. Code red. Code red means unapologetically masculine. You know how to fight. You're going to get your hands dirty. You don't give a shit about woke anything. You're fit. You can handle yourself in a fight. Let's go. Okay? I'm going to go hide. No joke. I know how to fight, but not in situations like that. I'm not going to take on the Andrew Tates of the world. I'm not stupid. Okay. There would be girls, though, out there. They'd be like, I got this. I went to the gym. A little 5-pound weight's coming up. You know, it's really completely disillusioned society we live in. All right. Then we get Chomnomsky. Very creative, by the way. He got involved.
I thought that was funny. I gave him credit. I thought that's pretty good.
Tyler's like, all right, +1. +1. Me, not so much, but here we go. He says, yeah, he seems like he's the kind of guy who just can't wait to help people. Again. So these are people who just didn't watch any of the content, right? Because a bulk of the content from Tate is about getting your ass to the gym, combating depression, things you need to do to be happy. I was making a list of some stuff. Where did I write that? I got so into a tizzy here that I just I don't even know where I put it. But, it's stuff like conquest he talks about and the key to happiness and how, you got to conquer things and achievement and, not being scared of things and, being bold and following things that you think are really important for you and will be good for you and your family and responsibility and keeping the family safe and not living in fear of being canceled, a whole bunch of stuff. So this guy just did no research and isn't embarrassed, by the way, with his blue check mark to just show the world that. Well, of course not, because everybody else would just line up behind him and be like, yeah, you do, you're right. He's a sex trafficker with no evidence. Okay. So I look at Chomnomsky, and this is his bio, news monster. Seen at New Yorker, Slate, NBC News. Well, what a surprise. What a surprise. Brooklyner, pacifist. Oh, maybe that's why he was mad about my tweet. He's a pacifist, so he didn't like that I suggested that in a crime zone you would want to call for help. Okay, I love the pacifists too. Everyone's a pacifist until the shit hits your block or your backyard. And then suddenly it's like, who's going to help me? What am I going to do? Where's my gun? Right? Human instinct to protect yourself and others, people around you, your family. Although some people just flee, I guess. And also him. Him was in there. Him. We didn't forget about it. Him was in there. It goes on. Then Kath Barbadoro says, the desperation is starting to set in. They see that I'm responding to these things and saying, well, there's no charges. There's no evidence of this stuff today. And I'm being very reasonable. I'm saying if there is evidence tomorrow, I will be reporting it and I will be commenting on it. Because again, this isn't about me being friends with somebody or I'm not interested in that type of allegiance. You people who know me know I don't play that game with politicians. I don't play with anybody. I'm here to tell you what I see and what the reality looks like today. So now they're like, what else can we find? She comes back and says, the Briscoes have some thoughts about how good kickboxers are in a fight. In other words, you wouldn't want him there anyway because he's not that good in a fight. Kickboxers aren't that good in a fight. I mean, the dumb just run. Right. A world champion kickboxer, not going to be that good in a fight. You're right. So this was funny to me because I grew up in New York City and I spent a shit ton of time at Church Street Boxing downtown, which is this really grunge boxing gym. It's not pretty. It's not like one of those gyms you walk in, it's like everything smells pretty and everything's new. No, it's like a real raw. This is where like people who can beat the shit out of somebody go to work out. I took classes there. I took boxing classes there. I met a bunch of boxers. I met a bunch of kickboxers. This is just dumb to say about like, it's just stupid. They don't know what to say about him. They're like, oh, he's just a kickboxer. He's not a real boxer. He's not a Krav Maga. Honey, just take your phone out and debate his content. This stuff is just getting dumb. Then this was my favorite. This was the closer. Before we get to the other topic, this was truly. This came from a non-verified account. The reason that I saw it, and sometimes I don't see these, and when I tell you there were hordes of comments, sometimes I don't see these unless they get retweeted a lot. This one got a lot of play. This was from Sweetie Angel, I guess. I don't know. She writes, yes, I love being in dangerous situations with dudes in the habit of monetizing women for cash by pimping them out and who've been thrown off reality TV shows for hitting their girlfriends. I think that would go well for me because I'm a lobotomy patient with a humiliation fetish. She thought she was being real clever there. I was like, eh. So again, this irritated me. Maybe this irritated me actually more than any of the comments. Do you know why? Because again, I can't stand the infantilization of women. I cannot stand it. So I will give you my reply, and then I'm going to expand on that a second. I wrote, if adult women choose to participate in a consensual webcam business, I won't infantilize them by claiming they've been pimped out. He was thrown off a reality show because of a kink video. The girl in the video defended him. Not my thing in either case. Okay. Again, I don't like kink. I'm not into it. Like, I don't need my sex to be filled with injury. Just not my style, not my thing. I personally don't like webcam. Like, it doesn't appeal to me. It's not something that I've thought to do. It's not my thing, right? But are we talking about grown adult women or not? Because he did the kink video and the girl in the video who had been his girlfriend came out and said, that's what we used to do. I didn't have a problem with it. It was like we were putting it on for the camera a little bit, and there's nothing going on there. There's no story there. So that's it. That's it. What am I supposed to say? Oh, no, honey. No, no, no. Let me infantilize her. No, no, that's not good for you. Didn't your mommy ever tell you? No, I'm not interested in playing that role. I'm interested in letting adults be adults, make the choices they make for themselves, and be honest with themselves about what they like, what they don't like. It's not my life to live. I'm not here to boss everybody around and pull Doritos out of their mouth and tell them not to do kink videos. You're an adult. You do what you want. Same for webcam business. He said in the video at one point somewhere, he said, I reached out to he was looking to make money, and he reached out to, I guess it was ex-girlfriends, or maybe it was girlfriends. I think he said he had a few girlfriends going on at the time, and he reaches out to them and he says, this is what we're going to do. And he even says at one point, one or two of them, I think, left, decided it wasn't for them. They weren't held there against their will. The girls were entering into a business partnership. They decided they wanted to make money that way. They were adults. It's up to them. Did he chain them to the bed? That would be a different story. I don't have evidence of that. Were they held against their will? I also don't have evidence of that. Am I, again, going to infantilize these women and say, no, no, no. Should we be doing this to all women that do OnlyFans? Should I be going up to every woman on OnlyFans and say, no, 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 you can't do, that's bad. You're a little baby and you need to be told that that's not good. I have no interest in that. You're an adult woman, you want to do OnlyFans? Go do it. I don't care. I don't care. It's not my life to live. Do I think can I weigh in on the pros and cons and give my opinion? Sure, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. Same thing for people who get involved in pornography, adults. I have no problem with that. I'm not going to do it. Doesn't interest me. I'm not going to watch it. I think it's bad for society at large. I'm going to weigh in on why I think it's bad for society at large. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're a grown-ass woman. So what I love about this is the infantilization. Again, the left will, particularly women on the left, will constantly tell you that they're cheering for women. We love women. We're champions for women. And at every turn they get an opportunity, they will remind you that they feel women are incapable of making their own decisions, and that women shouldn't be held to a standard of personal responsibility, and that women just, they can't think or take care of themselves in any capacity. They're being pimped out. How do you know they're being pimped out? How do you know that? You assumed. Why? Because you infantilized them. That's why. So my takeaway on this, the reason I covered this at all was because I felt that it was a very important time to look at how many people, first of all, with blue check marks, that don't do research. They label themselves journalists in some capacities. It'll say journalist, or you fancy yourself a journalist, but you don't do no independent research. You're not interested in research. You're interested in getting a concept out there that you agree with at all costs, even if there are no facts to support it. And that thread weaves through politics, because you see the same people propping up Joe Biden and talking about, a bunch of lies. And you saw the same thing with COVID, prop up a bunch of lies. Oh, Fauci is king, even if the data didn't support it. You saw the same people who are willing to throw Tate under the bus instantly without justification, based on what they're stating, based on their facts that actually aren't checking out as facts. It loops through everything. They wanted me thrown off The View because of misinformation. When I was really just stating facts. So it threads through, and it's really important that it gets recognized that an increasingly large segment of the population has no interest in the truth and has no interest in anything except silencing people that they don't like, because they feel very, very uncomfortable and self-conscious about engaging in debate with those people, because they feel very weak and insufficient in those capacities. So I thought that was important. I thought it was important also to remind everybody about what happened to Kavanaugh, because it's disgusting and it can happen again. And they're just warming up, folks. They're just warming up. And again, you need to realize that you could be next. So, and it doesn't matter. People say, well, I don't have a big platform. They're not going to come for me. Really? They're not going to come for you? Well, what happens at your workplace? Did they come for you if you didn't want to get the mandatory experimental vaccine? They did. Do they come for you if you have a kid in a school and you don't want that kid to be exposed to, drag queen story hour because you don't think it's appropriate for your 4-year-old? They're coming for you too. They're coming for everybody who doesn't toe their line. And they will justify it by spewing out some type of label that they've decided is appropriate without factual justification every single time. They'll just vomit out the words. So that is my take on what happened there. I hope you enjoyed that, by the way. I want to get into the chat for a second and just see what's going on. I don't know how Tyler manages the chat. It's very confusing. I'm just going to say there's a lot going on in the chat. So Tyler, you take the lead, and I'm going to scroll while you take the lead on this. I want to hear some comments.
Gretchen says, preach, love your energy, and great podcast. There was another good one I saw here. Where did it go? Oh, the people ignore these women and keep putting out the opinions of women that don't even know him. What's wrong with being a man who stands up to criminals? Okay, right. So Michael says, I just thought it was worth pointing out that all women who really know Tate claim he was a gentleman.
They claim he was a gentleman?
Claim he was a gentleman.
Yeah, people do. People do. And like, you know what? Who am I to say? Like, and this is the other thing. Like, who am I to say? I didn't date the guy. I don't know how he treats his girlfriends. And I don't, honestly, that's not my business. That's not my business. You know, unless he's committing a crime or he's holding somebody hostage, which again, there's no factual like evidence for that. Today, I don't see it. You don't have to date him. These people out here act like he's out there and they have to somehow be in a relationship with him. He's not trying to date you. He's not trying to date you. You don't need to date him. You don't need to have a family with him. You don't need to be his wife. You don't need to do any of that. You can just sit at home and not like what he says. But that's not enough. They got to tear him down. I saw somebody was pitching to, oh, here we go. Mr. Banana Slice. Interesting title. Says, can you contact Destiny? He wants to argue with female commenters. We have reached out to Destiny, so I'll keep you posted on that one. That one caught my eye. Look at me in the chat. Woohoo! Tyler's like, somebody take the computer away before it gets ugly. Somebody take the computer away. Okay.
Have you seen the real life personification of these people?
What do you mean?
The Walmart girl that went viral over the weekend.
The Walmart girl. I didn't see that.
So I have it. I'll play it really quick. This girl at Walmart.
Yeah. This
guy at Walmart takes a video of this girl who's in line and apparently cut him in line. So he asked her, he said, have you seen the line of people? And this woman proceeds to, this is the personification of safe spaces. I don't know what to do. Screaming when Trump wins. This woman freaks out.
Well, let me see.
Not that long ago when I can't stand another man touching me!
Well, no one did that.
I just can't.
Is this a prank?
I can't. He won't go away. He needs to go away. He's the fucking problem.
I need to leave?
No. We'll take you to the
I still got, okay. She threw some of my stuff.
Okay, you just take you to another.
Hell if I know. I'm so sorry.
You're not sorry.
She wasn't sorry when she cut in line and then screamed
I didn't see you.
to make it. Oh, I just asked her if she saw anyone in line.
Just fucking leave. Just go.
That's an adult.
You're making it loud.
Let's just walk up.
Sounds like a sane person.
Walk up to Walk with Chris. Walk with Chris.
I can't.
How old do you think that girl is?
That's an adult woman. That's a grown-ass woman.
This is the personification.
Got to be like 30-something, that woman.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, it is a grown-ass
25, 26,
This is what happens.
27.
We talk about the babyfication of adults. That's like small child having a tantrum. But that's these people. You're right. That is these people screaming, crying, shaking, getting upset. That could be somebody who's not mentally all there, too. I mean, that does not seem like a mentally balanced individual. You notice the contrast, too, of the guy who's just like, I don't know, like, what's going on?
Even the people who were there were like,
Just
what are you doing here?
Well, that's right.
And this is like this. I don't think you can find a better personification of the people that just scream on Twitter into the void, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. They just scream, and they all have the support of other people who are just. It's like there's a lot of people who are just like on the verge right now too. It's interesting. There's been like a lot of people have just snapped. But yeah, that's fascinating. That would imagine being in that store too, and you're just like you went to get milk or something, or like, and you're just like, I mean, I didn't sign up for this today, you know, and she's just like, you know. And they say women are emotional. Where does that come from? You got to own some of that, girls, because I'm proud of my emotional side, but you got to own it, right? Sometimes we overreact. All right. I want to talk about this escort. I want to get to that for the second half. Actually, just not a full half, but I want to talk about Bianca Sarah, I think her name is. I don't know. She goes on TikTok and she talks about why married men are paying for sex. There was an article in the New York Post that covered it, but I actually want to play the video. So let's play her TikTok. The first one, and this, by the way, you're going to notice she's bruised. People are making all types of jokes about that, about why she got that bruise, but I just want to tell you, she said she got it at the gym. She said she walked into a barbell. She walked into the bar, but she really fucked herself up. I mean, it was like, she must have really walked into it because her forehead, but I wanted to show you because that's what she said. And there were a lot of naughty comments that were being said about how she got her injury that she didn't appreciate. Okay, so let's play this video. Now, I'm going to go through the points too afterward. This one first is her telling you that she walked into the bar at the gym, and that's how she walked out. Look at her forehead. So let's play that first, just so you have the context.
Tried a new gym today. It was going really good, and then I walked into the fucking barbell.
Not going so well. Can you imagine, like, how does that, I mean, I guess she walked in this way. It's just so odd because she hit this and this at the same time. Girlfriend was distracted. I wonder if she was on her phone. Okay, so that, I'm not going to say anything. Take her at her word. That's why in the video, people were like, what, is she beaten, battered? No, she said she did in the gym. So I had to contextualize that for you. Okay, so now she's going to tell you this is an escort who sleeps with married men. She's going to tell you what's really going on in their minds based on what they say to her. Fascinating. Let's play. We're going to play the whole thing.
Is it exclusively married men?
She talks about married men in particular, yes.
Okay.
This is about married men. Okay, and then we're going to break down. So listen.
Being an escort, sleeping with people's husbands. You can do better. He can do more for you. He's just doing it with other women. He's comfortable. You let him be comfortable. He loves the kids and he doesn't want the kids taken away, and that's one of the main reasons why he's staying. These kind of men need carers. 9 times out of 10, they're the irresponsible parent and you're the responsible one. They need someone to hold them down at home so they can go out and be crazy and do all the things they want to do and then come home to you because they know that you've got their back, and they need that grounding. They do love you, but with conditions.
Ooh.
Not all men cheat. Majority of men have fantasized about it, but there is a percentage that they know it's not worth it. They know it's the hunt that they want, not the catch, and they've already caught you. So that's why they're hunting, or they want to. If they couldn't pay for it, they wouldn't get it. They think that everyone wants them. They don't. I don't want your man. I do want his money. You can do better. They are scared. These men are scared. They are scared to communicate and say exactly what it is they want or what they're fantasizing. They are scared. They are little boys. If they do leave you, they're not leaving you for someone better. They're leaving you for someone easier. I'm easy. You pay me and I am yours. There is no work to be done. It's an illusion. Small majority are very lovely, have big hearts. Some of them have mental illness. No, pretty much majority of them have mental illness, and sleeping with a younger, hotter woman is a way of validating themselves when they really could just go home to you and communicate, talk, be validated by you. They think their woman won't leave them. They do. They should. They are love bombers. If you feel like they're cheating, they're cheating. If you feel like they're lying about something, they're lying about something. If you can't have an open discussion with your partner about these fears, I mean, if you can't talk to your partner about these things, like, are they really your partner? Or do they look at themselves like a prisoner? Women rule the world. Without us, there'd be nothing. And they know that. And that's why they lie, they manipulate, they cheat, they gaslight, and they love bomb. They need to keep you at bay from reaching your full potential, which is leaving their fucking sorry ass.
Okay, so that is the video. That is her explaining. So a few things strike me in this video. We could break down some of it together. One thing that's very contradictory, like she's saying guys like the hunt. Honey, if the guys like the hunt, they wouldn't be going for you because you're as you're saying, you're easy. If they really like the hunt, what the hunt means is somebody you got to work to get. Somebody out there that's hard, that plays hard to get. That whole like cat and mouse game that happens in dating. That's not what's happening with you. With you is he's taking out his cash and he's getting what he wants. That's not the hunt, honey. You know that. So there's contradictions that happen in there. I find it really interesting that she comes off as like a friend to the women. Like, I'm telling you, like, women rule the world. You should leave these guys. This very like female empowerment message, but this is the girl that's sleeping with your man, right? So she's making a living off of sleeping with your man, but she also in the same breath wants to make it like, I'm your friend. I'm on your side. I'm on your team. He's mentally ill. I mean, she just takes digs at the guys. You guys, man, listen, isn't there something else you could spend your money on? Go to a football game. I don't know, man. Do you want to really be giving your money to someone who's like, oh yeah, most of them are mentally ill. Most of them are sad. They're too afraid to confront, their wives about issues. Most of them are, scared little guys, whatever she goes on to say. I mean, it didn't sound like a glowing presentation of men. It sounded like it was very demeaning to guys. Like, these are kind of a bunch of losers who are scared little guys, and they come and they pay me because it's easy instead of dealing with you, and I'm really on your team. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know why guys ultimately, there's one conversation, right, about why guys cheat. And then there's why guys would cheat with an escort that they have to pay for. So, and those are two separate conversations, but I always find it particularly sad when a guy goes for an escort. Because if you have to pay for it, that means that the supply doesn't exist, right? You're not exactly on the top of the chain, the top of the food chain, as I call. They say like they think of guys like steak sometimes. You never heard that before? Maybe it's just me. But it's just me. You know what? Bottom line, I'm just thinking about steak. I ate the jerky and it wasn't enough is the bottom line. I'm always thinking about steak. My husband's like, what do you want for breakfast? Steak. What do you want for lunch? Steak. He's like, Dad, did you eat all that? Yes, I did. I think of guys like steak sometimes. A nice beefy man. I like a beefy man. So you're not exactly at the top of the food chain, like where you're like, desired if you got to go pay for the goods. You know that. Let's look at some of these points she makes, though. And you tell me in the chat if you think she's right. You can do better. He can do more for you. He's just doing it with other women. Probably true. You let him be comfortable. He loves the kids. I think that's probably true. Guys stay in the situation. Oftentimes, I think they love the kids, but they're like, I don't know if this is for me. So they go and cheat. Again, though, like, what kind of prize you got going on that decided they were going to go cheat and they were going to spend some money paying for it? Odd. I don't want your man. I do want his money, she says, which I think, guys, are you listening? Are you paying attention? These escorts don't give a shit about you. I know you go and you spend the money and they make you feel special and they're like, oh, baby, you're this, that. Yeah, they're lying. They want more money. They're like, oh, you got any more green if I compliment you again? Like, this is a business. How dumb do you have to be to go give your money to somebody to get a little action when you know that they're telling you what you want to hear because you're giving them their money? The dumb hurts on this stuff, really. And she's telling you straight up. She made the video, which is interesting to me too. Like, is she trying to hurt her business? Because her making this video, I don't know that it makes men more likely to go and purchase services through her because she just dissed all of you. I don't know if it's a good business plan. Maybe she did get a concussion from hitting into that barbell and she's not thinking straight because that's just not a good business model. And I don't know if you would want to show your face and tell all the women out there, hey, by the way, could be sleeping with your husband. Yep, that's me. Next time you see me rolling down the street, come say hi. I don't know. Best business model, but here we are. I'm easy, she says. Kind of sad, but true. Some are very lonely and have big hearts. The majority of them have mental illness. Quite an accusation that the majority of men have mental illness that she sees. So, honey, then you're taking advantage of people with mental illness. Guy with mental illness walks in the door. Send them home. Send them home. You going to engage with that? You just tell me that you're going to take money at all costs. Even if somebody's got mental illness, that's not very becoming as a woman, just saying. They think their women won't leave. They do. She seems to offer the opinion that a lot of these women that find out that the men are cheating, they actually do get up and say, I've had enough. The guys don't think they will, but they do. So that's interesting. If you feel like they're cheating, they're cheating. In other words, follow your gut, follow your instinct. If you think something's going on, it probably is. That's true, I would say. Then she goes into tell women rule the world. Without us, there would be nothing. And they know that. And that's why they lie, manipulate, cheat, gaslight, and love. So again, if you listen, you're making your business off these guys, right? And you're saying basically that they're shit. They're like little puppy dogs that's, again, the business model you have to question. Guys who watch this, some guys will be dumb enough though. They'll watch this and they'll be like, well, I don't know. She's still pretty good looking. I'd go and spend my money there anyway. Don't prove her right by being a dummy. He justifies not cheating because he's paying for it. He believes it genuinely helps the relationship. I don't know. Do you think guys justify it as not cheating because he pays for it? you think guys think of escorts as not cheating because it costs them money? No.
Guys are stupid, but they're not that stupid.
We're not that stupid, right? I hope not. Dear God. And then the way men and women view sexual encounters. This was interesting. The way men and women view sexual encounters are very different. Men hold no emotion. Women do. This is why men can cheat so easily without holding any guilt until they get caught. So that's interesting because I talked about that with you the other day about how women are emotional cheaters. Of course, people found issue with that, but it's true. Women are much more emotional because women are more emotional by nature, and for them to get engaged sexually with somebody, they have to be emotionally invested. So it's a whole different thing for women than it is for men oftentimes. Now, I do think, though, I had this conversation with my husband the other day about this, and I said, do you think that most men, if they cheat, they don't have guilt unless they're caught? I asked this very question, and he said no. He said, I think a lot of men, even if they cheated, like the second they knew that their wife didn't know about this secret, like it would burrow a hole in them and they would feel the guilt. So I don't know. You tell me. That's a good question. I don't know. But I'd like to think a little bit better of men, that even if you succumbed to some type of physical whatever, that you would feel guilty even if you hadn't been caught. I think that's probably true. The guys I know in my life, in terms of like my friends that are out there dating. And this is fascinating. Sometimes they just want someone to talk to. It's not always about sex. Okay. I don't know what to say. It's sad to me if a guy pays for sex. Very sad if a guy pays for sex. Sadder if a guy is married and then goes and pays for sex. Let's go one step further into the depths of the dirt and say it's really sad if you pay for somebody to talk to. This is a sad situation. If you've got nobody in your life you could go and talk to, you got to pay for that. I don't know, honey. You may have to do a revamp of your friend circle.
Go see a therapist.
Well, I guess they figure a therapist is money out of the pocket and you just get to talk. But with her, there's the talk a little hanky-panky attached maybe. So I don't know. Maybe it's like you get the Happy Meal. Is that how that works? I don't know. But therapist might be a better option. Just saying. So that is why an escort feels that men cheat. Do we have any comments in the chat, Tyler?
A few good ones.
Let's hear.
Let's see. There was one I just had. Where did it go? Wyatt. Shout out to Wyatt. I can see her business exploding because the type of men going to her would still go to her and think, quote, I'm the exception. It's the other guys she's talking about.
Isn't that sad? See, that's what I think you're talking about when you say guys can be stupid, right? And they're like, oh no, she and I really, we connect. We connect. We've got, it's different. But these other guys, yeah, what a bunch of dimwits. But she knows, she knows me. I know, it's different. Okay, dummy. How many 50s did you give her? How many?
Michael said, you can believe most men are only as faithful as their options.
Only as faithful as their options.
I think that's really interesting.
So you're saying a guy with a lot of options. So the guy that a lot of girls want and he gets married, he's not going to be faithful because he's got too much girl in his face.
Well, if a guy is married to an 8 and he's got 72 4s or 5s coming after him, he doesn't care, right? But all of a sudden here comes this 9 and this 9 has interest. Boy, I bet he'd look that way.
It's interesting. It's really interesting what makes certain men, and she does say that a lot of men like don't cheat. And then the question becomes, do they not cheat because they don't want to, or do they not cheat because they made vows, or do they not cheat because, like, why? The why of it all. And I think this is different for all different types of men. I think it's different, first of all, for different age groups of men. I think it's different for where these men are. And I cannot draw the difference between the guys in the cities and the guys that are in these towns around the country. Like, you just can't, it's a different species in many respects. And it's also different. Are they religious? Are those vows sacred? What does their marriage look like? Is it dysfunctional? What is the woman doing? Because oftentimes what I'll hear too, I heard a story the other day, somebody reached out to me to ask a question. It was a fascinating question because she had said, oh, Jed, you should do a Dear Jed, like Dear Abby. And she said that she's in a relationship. She was in a relationship. This is a past relationship she was speaking about. And she kind of owned up. And she said that she was on Instagram and she had been kind of emotionally cheating by like commenting with other guys and getting even some texts. And it wasn't physical, but it was emotional. And as a result, there was distance that formed in her relationship with her man. And then he went out and actually cheated physically. And at the time, she was like outraged because it was like he cheated, but she didn't view what she was doing as cheating. But in reality, you had two disloyal partners that probably caused a huge rift. So you have to like look at all the relationship dynamics that go into, it becomes like, what is cheating? When is it actually cheating? Who was kind of doing what? And it's hard now with technology to follow it all because before it was like, somebody cheated, it was more often than not, it was a physical interaction. But now with everything that's going on with social media and WhatsApp and this, you could kind of like be doing a lot of dirty stuff where you never even see somebody in person, let alone touch them. A lot of questions. Anything else we want to get to today before we wrap?
And he follows up. He says, think about it. If you're with a great looking, successful guy that's got a lot of women, that a lot of women want, that man is going to be tempted and given at some point, i.e. Adam Levine.
There's something not right in that guy's head.
Yeah, but
he is the mentally ill guy, by the way. I'm sorry to say it, but it's not mentally healthy to write somebody that you had some type of affair with and say you're going to name your incoming child off after them. That is not mentally stable. It's not. Tyler, were you saying something?
Well, but I think it proves a point that Adam Levine had throngs of women. It's like, I think that guy really hit on something, is that your faithfulness is directly correlated to your options.
Yeah, I think that's probably true in many senses, with caveats to like people who are religious, people who are like, there's people who just look at their marriage differently for other reasons that are like bigger. That's why like I always say people of faith, because like a lot of those people, like it's bigger than just that. And also I think it's very different for people who have a family. Like if you're married and you don't have children, I think that's a very different dynamic than if you're married and you have children, and it just is. But I see some of these are funny, by the way. Some of these say, oh, guys can like mash. What is this? JP Tapia. Man can mash a woman we hate. You don't get it. I do get it. I grew up in New York City. I get it. I know what guys are capable of. I know. I see it. Zero attachment. Some people are saying low T. What, from the guys that are going and paying for it? Yeah, well, that could be. If they're not cheating, they're imagining it. That's another thing too, that it's like, if they're not doing it, are they wanting to do it? Are they thinking about doing it? And some women will say, well, that counts. Oh, stop it. That's like ridiculous. Come on. You can't get inside somebody's head and penalize them for every thought. You just can't live like that. You can't. It gets to be like too crazy. It just does. You drive yourself sick doing that stuff.
And here we are wading into the fresh and fit Andrew Tate, Rollo Tomasi. There's different rules for cheating for men and women.
Different rules. I know. There we go. Well, I would say, listen, and you know what's interesting about that too, and we'll close with that. A lot of times, like what they're talking about isn't even cheating. What they're saying oftentimes, what I've noted, is that there's different rules for like the way you set up a relationship dynamic. So they feel like a guy can have a whole bunch of girls. But none of them, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I've seen, are actually calling it cheating because they're upfront about it. Like they're upfront about the fact that they feel that a guy, in many cases, should be able to establish that code of behavior like openly. So that's not cheating. That's not cheating. If you were a guy and you go in and you say, listen, I want to be with you, but I also want to be with these 3 other people. How do you feel about it? That woman signs up for it. And that's just not cheating then. That's like an understood dynamic. It's cheating if you as a guy walk into a relationship and you say, it's just going to be me and you do the vows and you do the whole thing, and then you sneak around. I don't think that's what they're talking about, though, based on what I've heard as far as separate set of rules. I feel like they're talking about a different dynamic that men are entitled to establish by virtue of being a man and functioning differently and having different needs and biology and precedent. I would disagree with them on that in part, but it's very different to say cheating than an established dynamic between men and women that everyone's comfortable with. That's up to you. Well, I want to thank you guys for being here today for the Feminist Meltdown. That was fun. Remember that these people exist. They will label you whatever they want with no basis, and they will run with it. And many of them will be verified and work for publications, by the way, where then they will run stories about it with no basis and no justification. So know who you're dealing with. And if you're married, I don't know. If something's wrong in your marriage, have that conversation, because you don't want to wind up in a situation where you got your husband's escort talking to you about what went down. That is not a good place to be. Don't land there. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be back, by the way, this week, Thursday and Friday of this week, as long as the hurricane doesn't get ugly. I've never been through a hurricane. No, actually, I was early when I was younger. I lived in Florida, but let's hope it doesn't get ugly, because all I have at my disposal is a small flashlight. It's about this big. I will see you guys on Thursday. Have a good week.